This past month, I was able to take part in the Small Schools Leaders Conference, and not as a presenter, but as a sponsor. But what was really fun was at the end of the conference, we had a big get together with all of the different sponsors and leaders from that specific event. And we had one question that was asked of us. And that question was simple. What is something you are noticing when it comes to schools? And the cool thing about this whole group is it's not just some web designers like yourself, not yourself, yours truly. And it's not just school principals or administrators. These are consultants that together work with hundreds of different private schools, not just Christian schools, but private schools in general, all across America and also some in Canada as well. And when they were asked this question, they gave a whole lot of fun answers. But the one answer that stuck with me, and I really wish I wrote down who said this specific one, and I don't remember what her name was, but one of the people said that something that they are noticing with Christian schools and private schools and small schools is they are neglecting the middle of the marketing funnel for their school. And that got me thinking, how true is that statement? And so maybe you don't know what a marketing funnel is, but basically a marketing funnel, when you think of a funnel, it's bigger at the top and it reaches down to the goal. So like if you're changing the oil in your car, you use a funnel, at least I use a funnel. Some of you might not use a funnel, but I use a funnel to make sure that I gather everything that is going in to make sure it gets to where it's supposed to go. And with a marketing funnel, it's the same idea. There's basically 3 tiers to a marketing funnel to make someone actually decide to either work with you or to buy your product, or for us with Christian schools to actually enroll as a family. And the top of the funnel is just exposure and brand awareness and just letting people know, hey, we exist. Then as you go down to the middle of the funnel, it's the fact that people know you exist, but they're kind of just free floating in this spot where they're thinking about it, but they're not really sure, but they haven't made any commitments yet. But they also know who you are. And then the bottom of the funnel is they are actually making a decision. And not even just to make a decision to get some more information, but actually make a decision to pick up the phone and say, hey, we want to know more about what enrollment looks like, or we want to schedule a visit, or they're saying, what are the next steps to get started? And most schools, probably yours included, spend most of their time, their effort, and their money to get more people into the top of the funnel. In other words, a lot of Christian schools, and maybe yours included, are spending a lot of money to just get their school's name out there, whether they're using social media and like Meta ads, or they're using Google ads, or they're trying to just do a whole bunch of different things with SEO or things that we talked about in this channel, trying to get found at the top of search results and ChatGPT. All of our effort goes towards exposure and to awareness. But I can guarantee, and I probably bet, there are a lot of people who know about your school, that have learned about your school, but they just are still considering what their actual next step is. And the problem is a lot of times we spend so much money to get people to the top of the funnel that we have no more time, energy, or honestly budget to reach the people at the middle of the funnel. So the question is who are these people that are in the middle of the funnel? And these are very simply families that have, requested information they want to know. They show some interest, but they have not actually acted upon it yet. These are families such as those who have come to an open house but have not yet followed up with your school. They've requested more information from your school. You've given them that information, but then they go completely silent and they ghost you. Maybe they start following you on social media, and not even just following, but actually interacting with your social media posts, such as liking them or commenting them or sharing them. Or families that our kids are getting older and older and older. They're no longer babies. They're starting to exit preschool, maybe even exit kindergarten, and a Christian school is on their radar soon. Not quite, but soon. And here's the key thing, all right? These are families that, again, know you exist. Maybe your school has been recommended. Potentially, they already like you. They don't need to be convinced to like your school anymore. They just need to be nurtured and continually brought to the bottom of the funnel, because this is what we call in the marketing world as a warm audience, not a cold audience, not, again, people who don't know what they are, but these are warm audiences that already know your name. They just need to be continually reminded that your school is a viable option. And then the biggest question of them all is, okay, so if there are people in this supposed metaphysical, metaphorical middle of the funnel, what's the best way to reach these people? They've already heard about us. What can we do to keep top of mind with these families? And the answer is very, very simple. and surprisingly, pretty cheap. And that answer is email marketing. Now, why email marketing? Pretty simple. You already have their contact information, all right? You already have their name, maybe their area where they're from, what question that they have, what part of your school they are interested in if they've already done an open house or if they've requested more information. And most importantly, you have their email address. And with emails, you could do, completely free and just use your school email and send these people just literally like manual emails where you're just saying, hey, just wanted to follow up, or we'll talk about a different kind of flow that you can do to set it up, whether manually or automatic. But emails are completely free to send. They just take a little bit of time and effort, or you can pay to use an email marketing software, which I recommend to get started. So that way you can automate a lot of this. Another thing is it lands directly in people's inboxes, all right? Because the deal with social media is a pay-to-play platform. If you want your social media posts such as Facebook or Instagram, or maybe some of you guys, Instagram Reels, TikToks, or hey, maybe even LinkedIn, I'm not sure what social media platform you're using, it's pay-to-play. If you want to get found and have continually show up in people's feeds, Meta wants you to pay them. In fact, if you can look at your followers, how many people follow your school, and then look at the most recent post, maybe the last 10 posts, and see how many people actually saw your last Instagram post or Facebook post, Facebook primarily, you will be shocked to see that maybe 1% of your followers actually saw that post. And if you're lucky, 10% of followers saw your post. And then from there, even fewer people actually interacted with their post. Whereas with email, it's not just throwing it out there into this, fake universe and hoping they see it. It gets directly to these people, directly to their inboxes where you can speak specific to them. No algorithm is blocking you from contacting these people. And it allows you to be consistent and personal over time, which nurtures the relationship, which helps them, again, be guided by the hand and not just hoping and praying that they, want to schedule a visit someday down the road, but it helps keep your school top of mind and bring people down from the middle of the funnel to actually making a decision about your school. Because here's the deal. A decision for them to say no or not right now to your school is probably better than just not even knowing at all. So we're pushing people to actually make a decision. And here's the last thing, about emails. The goal of emails is not to get people to give you money in the email. In other words, it's not the intention to actually get people to enroll and sign the dotted line. It's to get people to just make a decision to come and visit with you guys in person. Now, email is not a glamorous thing. Maybe you've heard marketing people talk about all the power of emails and email marketing that there is, but the crazy thing is that email has one of the highest ROIs available to schools in general. Here's some fun facts. I wanted to make sure I actually had these facts and these numbers in front of me, so that way it's not just, me blowing smoke and then, hoping that you guys trust what I have to say. But here's the deal, all right? Email marketing has a 3,600 to 4,000 ROI. In other words, for every dollar you spend on email, you get generally a $40 return. This is in the not school world or church world. This is primarily like in the marketing world. But the idea is the fact that if you spend $1 on emails, you can expect to have a 40x return on that. And then in comparison, in email marketing's average ROI of 3,500% actually is even better than SEO, because SEO, again, is top of the funnel. We're trying to get people to find us and then actually engage with us. The ROI for SEO is between 317% and 1,389%, and social media is only 250%. So we're talking, this is 10 to 20 times of a more impact than social media. And with SEO, it's anywhere from 10 to 3 times more ROI than just actual SEO. 42% of marketers say that email is their most effective channel, far ahead above social media and paid search, which both sit at 16%. And then 4 out of 5 marketers say that they would rather give up social media for their business and their organization than email. In other words, marketers, people who do this in the field 24/7 say that our email and our email list, the way that we can connect with people, is so much more valuable than social media. We would rather give up social media than our email list. So what does this mean for your school? Honestly, it's pretty simple. You can utilize email marketing to help people go from the middle of the funnel where they already are, you've already made the hard work to get known, to having them actually schedule a visit with your school. So you might be thinking, okay, Mark, so that kind of sounds good. I like this idea of email marketing, especially if it's free or generally cheap. But what do I email these people? Once we get the list and we have all these emails, what do we send them? Do we just send them announcements? Do we just say, hey, there's another open house coming up? What types of emails should we send to these people? Now, there's 3 primary categories of emails that you should be sending to your list. And this is people who, again, maybe they've even enrolled at other schools, but they're still on your email list because you never know when they want to switch schools, all the way people that just filled out the contact form yesterday. Now, I do want to make sure I say this. Before you add folks to your email list, you have to get their permission. You can't just take a bunch of people random emails, even they contacted you and they did not get permission from you to add them to your email list. You have to get permission from them. I have to say that's a legal thing. That's a privacy policy thing. But once they are on your email list, there are 3 kinds of emails you can send. Number 1 is called nurture emails. These emails build trust and familiarity. Number 2 is emails that address hesitation. In other words, you are answering questions that might be either hurdles or speed bumps in their decision-making process. And number 3 is what we probably are more familiar with, which are action-driving emails to make people actually respond. So for nurture emails that build trust and familiarity, here's a few different ideas. You could do something like a week in the life of your student, what a typical school day looks like. You could do one of testimonials from families and even students, maybe even faculty, of why we chose your school. Another one is highlights from chapel, from missions trips, or from faith-integrated learning moments that honestly are just a great way to help people get an inside scoop on what's going on with your school. Another one is teacher spotlights. In other words, actually put your teachers front and center. Help people that are curious about your school learn more about who will be teaching their students. And the last one, which honestly makes sense too, is academic or extracurricular wins. Whether it's sports, fine arts, or academic competitions, tell people, hey, our school did really, really great. And this is not calling people to actually make a decision to join your school. This is just helping people fall in love with your school and thinking, maybe this is a good school idea for us. We also talked about emails that address hesitation. What are some hesitation that people might be asking? One is tuition and financial aid. Tackle those questions head on. Like literally, clarity is kindness. Answer people's questions exactly how they are asking you when they're in your office. So if you know people are going to ask these questions and they are asking these questions, put them into a script and email those out. Another one is talking more about, is Christian school right for your family? This goes into your philosophy of education, the type of graduate you are trying to produce. This is your portrait of a graduate that we've talked about before, but it's more of a framing your school, and not just your school, but Christian education in general, to show that this is valuable. It's just valuable in general. Another one is comparison of outcomes between your specific Christian school and maybe the public schools near you or the charter schools. Because people have those questions of, if I send my kid to your school, can you guarantee that that's not sacrificing the rest of their life, whether if they want to pursue academics or sports or the arts? If I send my kid to your school, am I actually giving them a worst experience and a worst education? Talk about those, and then you can even, not even us versus them, but have that mindset of us versus alternative schools and just address those questions head on. And then the last one is probably what you're thinking about, is all about email marketing, but this should only be 1 out of every 5 to 7 emails should be an action-driven email. So every email you send should not be calling them to do something. Most emails should be about introducing people to your school a little bit more, giving them the inside scoop, but you also do need to call them to action, such as actually schedule the visit. You have been on this email list for a long time. We have sent you all these emails. Are you in or are you out? You want to come check us out or do you not? Maybe you can offer a private tour instead of an open house and just say, hey, here's a scheduling form, have a one-on-one tour. We can answer any question that you have. You also, though, could actually say, this is probably the email that I get most from schools that I'm still on their marketing list, of anytime there's an open house, I get an email. Now, I wish I got multiple emails in between the 4 random open house emails that I get from schools in our community, but at least they are sending me that they are having open houses to come check out our school, and you should be doing that as well. And then you want to make sure that you actually do countdowns. So if you have early bird discounts, if you have different rates based on time, Or if you just have deadlines for guaranteed enrollment, don't be pushy, don't be a salesperson, don't be like feeling like you're snake oil or just dirty, but just point blank call it what it is. If, hey, open enrollment ends at this time, now is the last chance for you to get your name into the bucket. Even if you decide not to enroll, there's no money down. You just visit a tour with us, but you got to get your name on the list now before it's too late. So when you are thinking about what types of emails you should send, again, 1 out of every 5 to 7 emails should be some sort of a call to action. All the other ones should be ones that build trust and familiarity with your school or address hesitations that they might have. Now, I was kind of thinking this before we end this video. I was like, okay, so we could talk just about email marketing to help people move from the middle of the funnel down to actually making some sort of decision. But we can do more than just email marketing. In fact, we can do so much more than just email marketing, but we still want to make sure that we do email marketing. So I have 6, I miscounted, 6 unique ideas to move people from the middle of the funnel to actually scheduling a visit with your school. Some will be emails, some won't be. The first one is the quote unquote, bring a friend open house. I don't know if you've ever heard of this idea before, but I thought this was fantastic. I've seen a few schools where they have this idea of bring a friend open house, where yes, it is an open house, but the idea is for me and my family to invite friends of ours that are curious about Christian school and say, hey, come with us to this open house. So that way people aren't just going in blind. They don't know what to expect. They have the comfort and the familiarity of, their friend that goes to their school. And then as they're going through the hallways and meeting teachers and things like this, I can walk up to like my kid's teacher and say, hey, Mrs. So-and-so, or hey, Mr. So-and-so, this is my buddy, this is his wife. They're looking at sending their kids to our school this year. So now we're actually creating engagement with that. And something that I thought was really, really fun that I saw some schools do is as a part of this bring a friend open house, they were running tuition specials. In other words, if you brought a friend to this open house, you instantly got some money taken off your tuition just for bringing your friend to the open house. And then if they actually enrolled in your school, you get a big chunk taken off your tuition. Could you imagine how much that would actually help your guys' school? Maybe you're thinking, how much money do you actually spend on trying to just get new people to learn about your school? What if you spent that same amount of money giving to families you already have in forms of tuition breaks for them to just bring their friends to your school? Great idea for that. Another one is the personal video email. In other words, every single person that you have met, that you have interacted with, record a quick little video. My favorite software that I use is Loom, Loom.com, where you can just take a very quick screen recording with your webcam or with your phone, record the audio, and then send it to them as a link and just say, hey, it was so great. I am so happy that I met you. We had a great time with you. Or maybe you say, hey, I know that you requested some information. I want to answer any questions that you have. I just want to say thank you for that. And here are your next steps. It only needs to be a minute long, but having a personal video that is made for that specific person can go a long way as well. So you can record the video, send it to them, and if you utilize a software like Loom, it actually tells you when that person watches, which is a whole lot of fun. Another one is called the student ambassador email. In other words, talk with some of your key students, probably your juniors or your seniors, have them write stories and invite them to be a part of the marketing of your school. And so if you have a few students that have really, really cool stories or really cool accolades or just really, really great kids, maybe you just do an interview for them or part of your creative writing class and say, hey, we want you to write an email that maybe you could help convince a parent that why you love the Christian school, our Christian school, their child will as well. Just an idea with that. Another one, we've already talked about this, is a quote unquote, no pressure private tour. In other words, have a schedule a visit page where you send them the link. They can select the day, the time that they want, and they can have a private one-on-one tour. And you can actually flat out say, look, here's the deal. At the end of the tour, I'm not going to ask you to sign a dotted line. This is not an interview. You really are going to walk in, we're going to walk around. When we're all said and done, I'm going to hand you a pamphlet and say, see you later. That's it. We're not making a decision. We're not twisting your arm. We just want to show you around the campus a little bit. That might go a long way. And then another one that I think is actually really cool is something that's called a milestone trigger, all right? This would take a lot of work with email segmentation, but if you can segment your list in such a way where as people are actually, requesting information. They want information about first grade, second grade, fourth grade, this, that, and the other. You know that at the end of that school year, or getting close to the end of that school year, that they are thinking about the next year. So you can make it as simple as every single year a new email goes out, that when you put everyone who is checked in and their name is listed as they want information about second grade, the next year they're about third grade, you can move them all to that next category and send them an email. Say, hey, I want you to introduce you to our third grade teacher. Here's what your child can expect out of third grade. Here's some of the field trips that they go on in third grade. Are you ready to make your decision? Or if you want to make it a little simpler, you can make them as segmented as elementary, middle school, high school. So that way, as they walk through the different parts of your school, they might be having great luck with their elementary, but maybe they stop at elementary. And then when they go into sixth grade, they got to find a new school. Let's get in front of them and have those conversations. Or for a lot of Christian schools, I know they end at eighth grade. So maybe you can talk with some of these other local Christian schools where their class ends, or their school ends at eighth grade, and your school continues on 9th through 12th, and say, hey, is there any way I can somehow get in front of your families, maybe sponsor an email or things like that, or have some sort of relationship and connection to be that source and pipeline, basically just so that I can get them into your Christian school next. Or you just keep that list handy and say, hey, we know ninth grade's coming up. High school is a very big transition. Here's some of the problems that are not problems, but here's some of the hurdles that your child will be facing in high school. Here's why our school can step in and be the best solution for you. But either way, at the end of the day, when it comes to emails, the more personalized you can make them, the more pointed you can make them, and the more questions you can address in those emails, the better. And at the end of the day, again, as I've already said, we already spend a lot of money, time, effort, energy for people at the top of the funnel so we can get them to the bottom, but we forget about the messy middle. So if we just put a little bit of time and a little bit of effort into actually emailing those folks in the middle and set up those email marketing software programs and those automations, or just manually doing it, you might see a massive increase in your school's just signups. Because here's the deal, all right? You don't need, these are my closing thoughts. I'm going to read them because I thought they were good. Because, when you write things, you think they're good. Number one is you don't need more people at the top of your funnel. You likely have a gold mine in the middle already. And consistent, intentional email nurture is the lowest cost, highest impact things that most Christian schools are not doing well. And remember, the visit is the goal, not to request more information. So build every email with that goal, intentionality, and mindset in mind. And here's one last thought I want to leave with you before we go. 99% of people check their email every single day. 58% of people check their email before they check their social media. Your potential next families are already in their inbox. So my question is, are you going to be in their inbox with them? Or are you just going to hope and pray that one day they'll be ready to schedule a visit?